Hello and welcome to the Timken ILS Cheltenham Ltd. Wheel loader installation video. Step 1. Pre-installation checks. Before commencing any work, ensure the machine is isolated for the safety of the engineer. Then disconnect the batteries and any vulnerable electronics. Step 2. Welding preparation. Where possible, it is advisable not to weld onto the machine. However, in this installation, pipe clamps and mounting brackets are welded to the lifting arms, the linkage and also the center pivot. In preparation for welding, the layout of the brackets and clamps can be marked onto the machine using pencil. Once confirmed, the paint in the marked area can be removed with an angle grinder. This will more permanently mark the layout and allow the weld to bond to the machine better. Step 3. Welding. Once again, ensure the machine is isolated, batteries and any other vulnerable electronics are disconnected. It is also advisable to cover any hydraulic rams and hoses that may be damaged by the heat and splatter. Step 4. Painting primer base layer. Once the welded areas has cooled sufficiently, a primer should be applied to the areas. At this time, it is also possible to prepare the steel pipe by running a 1/8 BSP die approximately 1 inch down the one end of each pipe. A primer base layer can also be applied to the steel pipe. Step 5. Changing the fittings. Making sure to avoid any wet paint, the grease nipples can then be removed and replaced with the relevant fittings. This will require a combination of elbows and straight fittings. Certain lubrication points may need extensions added to the fittings to give better access. Step 6. Painting top coat. A top coat of the machine's original color can now be added to all the welded parts and the prepared steel. Step 7. Preparing the distribution valves. The distribution blocks should be prepared in a suitable clean area with a vise. With the valve placed in the vise, it is possible to add the check valves and blanks to their assigned ports. Once put into place finger tight, they can then be tightened using an 11mm socket and a 5mm Allen key. Be careful not to over-tighten the fittings, as this may damage the threads. The elbow for the secondary valves can also be added to the top of the valve along with the T and nipple in the primary valve. Step 8. Running the grease lines. The grease lines can then be ran. These will link the lubrication points to the distribution valves. Any points which may cause a pinch on the pipes should be avoided. If there is the possibility of any pipes rubbing, they should be covered using plastic conduit. Step 9. Piping up the distribution valves. The grease lines can then be piped up into the distribution valves, as shown with the pipe being held in place with a nut and olive. It is important to make sure the olive makes a good connection to the pipe to ensure there is no leaks. Step 10. Mounting the pump. The pump can now be mounted to the machine. First of all, a pump bracket needs to be mounted in a suitable place which can be seen. The pump can then be mounted to the bracket. It is best to avoid a location where the pump could be damaged, but it must still be visible. Step 11. Making the electrical connection. The pump cable can now be ran into the cab and wired in. It is important to check the power supply used becomes live when the machine's ignition is turned on. However, it must be checked that the operation of the pump would not affect any other electronics. The push button can also be installed at this time and wired in. Step 12. Testing. The system should be ran for a minimum of 3 times to ensure correct operation. The push button override in the cab can be used to test the system. The indicator pin on the primary divider valve should be monitored for correct movement, and the pressure relief valve checked to ensure there is no build-up of excessive pressure or blocked points. Once the testing has been completed, the timer settings on the pump can be programmed. The completed system. Thank you for watching.